There are some secrets that should die with our mothers. This is not one of them. My name is Adana, or at least that's what I thought my name was, until the day I woke up and couldn't remember my own face in the mirror, until my brother stopped recognizing his own hands, until my sister forgot how to speak our mother tongue, the language that had flowed from her lips like honey since birth. We thought it was a curse. We thought it was madness. We never thought to look at the one person who brought us into this world. Because what mother would sell her children's souls for success? In my culture, a name is not just a label. It is the thread that connects your spirit to your ancestors. It is the map of your destiny, written before you take your first breath. When the elders gather on the 7th day after a child's birth, they don't just choose sounds that are pleasant to the ear. They listen. They listen to the whispers of the spirit world. They watch for signs. They commune with those who walked before us. My mother understood this. She was raised in the old ways, in a village where the baobab trees held more wisdom than any university, where the griots could recite your lineage back 17 generations, where to speak a person's true name was to hold a piece of their very essence. So when she traded ours away, she knew exactly what she was doing. It started with Chidi, my younger brother. He was 23, strong as an Iroko tree, with hands that could shape clay into impossible beauty. He was a sculptor, and his work was beginning to gain recognition in the city galleries. People said he had a gift. They said his hands were blessed.
One morning, he sat at his wheel and stared at his hands like they belonged to a stranger. He turned them over, flexed his fingers, and then he wept because he couldn't remember how to center the clay. The knowledge had simply vanished, like smoke, like it had never been there at all. We told him it was exhaustion, burnout, the stress of the upcoming exhibition. We told him to rest. We had no idea we were watching the first thread unravel. Then it was Zainab, my older sister, the brilliant one, the one who spoke 5 languages and could recite the Quran from memory. She was a translator for the United Nations, flying between capitals, building bridges with words. She called me at 3 in the morning, her voice trembling. "Adana," she whispered, "I can't remember Igbo. I woke up and the words are gone. I can speak English, French, Arabic, Swahili, but our mother tongue, it's like trying to remember a dream that's already fading." I laughed. I actually laughed because it was impossible. You don't forget your mother tongue. It's in your bones. It's in the rhythm of your heart. It's the first music you ever heard. But when I asked her to say my name, just my name, in Igbo, there was only silence on the other end of the line. I thought I would be spared. I was the youngest, the practical one, a doctor, a woman of science. I dealt in facts, in diagnoses, in things that could be seen and measured and treated. I was making rounds when it happened. I was reviewing a patient's chart, and I looked up to see my reflection in the window, and I didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Not in the way you might forget after too long without a mirror. I mean, I looked at my own face and felt nothing. No connection, no recognition. It was like looking at a photograph of a stranger. I touched my cheeks, my lips, my hair, and it felt wrong, foreign, like wearing someone else's skin. I ran to the bathroom, locked the door, stared into the mirror until my eyes watered, and slowly, like water draining from a bath, I felt myself disappearing, my memories growing hazy, my sense of self unraveling at the edges. That's when I knew, whatever was happening to us, it was connected, and it was getting worse. We gathered at our mother's house the next evening, all 3 of us. Chidi, with his trembling hands wrapped around a cup of tea he couldn't drink. Zainab, struggling to form words in the language of our childhood. And me, afraid to look in any reflective surface, for fear I'd see nothing looking back. Our mother, Obiageli, was in the kitchen. We could hear her humming,
A gospel song, incongruously cheerful. Her shop was thriving. The biggest fabric store in 3 states. Money flowing like the Niger River. She'd just purchased her 3rd property. While her children were falling apart. I was the one who finally spoke. "Mama," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "We need to talk. Something is wrong with us, all of us, and we need to know. Has anything unusual happened? Any blessings you received? Any deals you made?"
The humming stopped. The kitchen went silent. And when she emerged, there was something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not guilt, not exactly. Something harder. Something that had made a calculation and decided the cost was worth it. She sat down across from us, smoothed her expensive Ankara print dress, and said 5 words that changed everything. I did what was necessary. And then she told us the story. 15 years ago, this family was dying, not slowly, quickly. Your father had just passed, rest his soul, and left us with nothing but debt. Debt I didn't even know existed. The shop was failing. The landlord was threatening eviction. You, Adana, needed surgery we couldn't afford. Chidi, you had just been expelled from school for unpaid fees. Zainab, you had a scholarship interview in 2 days and no money for transport. I was on my knees in that shop, praying, begging God, the ancestors, anyone who would listen. And someone, something, answered. She described a woman who appeared in her shop just before closing. Tall, ageless, wearing white from head to toe, but somehow the fabric never caught the dust from the street. She spoke with an accent that belonged to no region, no tribe, and she made an offer.
"You have 3 children," the woman said. Each was given a bet name by the elders, names that carry their destiny, their protection, their connection to all who came before. I will take those names, not the ones you call them by in the market, the real ones, the ones whispered on the 7th day, the ones that should never be spoken aloud, except in prayer. In exchange, she would ensure my business prospered beyond my wildest dreams. She would open doors, turn hearts, make way where there was no way. I felt my blood turn to ice because I knew what this meant. In our tradition, your birth name, your true name, is your soul's anchor to this world and the next. It connects you to your lineage. It protects you from spiritual attacks. It carries the blessings of your ancestors. And our mother had sold them, traded them like currency for fabric and buildings and a business that would survive without her children's souls intact. Zainab was the first to speak, her voice breaking in Yoruba, then Hausa, then finally English, fumbling for words in the only languages left to her. "You sold our names, Mama, our true names, the ones Grandmama and the elders chose, the ones tied to our chi, our personal God." And do you know what my mother said? Do you know how she defended the indefensible? "I saved your lives. You don't remember how hungry you were, how scared. Adana, you were in pain every day, and I couldn't help you. Chidi, you are losing hope. Zainab, you are about to give up your dreams. What is a name compared to life, compared to opportunity, compared..." But names are not separate from life. In our culture, your name is your life. And without it, you're not just lost, you're unmade. Thread by thread, memory by memory, identity by identity. Chidi stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. He looked at his mother, this woman who had raised him, fed him, loved him, and he couldn't find words. So he just shook his head and walked out, his hands still trembling, his gift still gone. I stayed. I needed to understand. "Mama," I said, "what exactly did you give her? What were our names?" I don't remember. The moment I agreed, they vanished. And that's when I understood the true cruelty of the bargain. Even if we wanted to reclaim our names, to break this curse, we couldn't, because the only person who knew them had forgotten them. They were lost, completely, irretrievably. I asked her the question that was burning in my chest. Was it worth it, Mama? The money, the success? Was it watching your son forget how to create? Your eldest daughter forget her own language? Your youngest daughter forget her own face? Didn't know this would happen.
She said the names would be taken, yes, but she didn't say, I didn't understand. But that was the thing. She did understand. Deep down, in the place where mothers know things. She knew you don't trade with spirits from a place of desperation without paying a price far beyond what's stated. She knew, and she did it anyway.
We had 3 weeks before Zainab lost language entirely. The doctors confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't medical. MRIs showed nothing. Blood tests were normal. This was spiritual, ancient, and Western medicine had no answers. We went back to the village, to the place where my mother was born, where her mother and grandmother had been born, where our true names had been given by the Council of Elders. Only 2 of the elders who had named us were still alive. Mama Nkiru, 93 years old, blind in both eyes but seeing more than anyone I'd ever met, and Baba Okafor, who had forgotten most things but never forgot a name. We sat in Mama Nkiru's compound, under the same baobab tree where our naming ceremonies had taken place, the same tree where generations of our family had received their identities, and we told her everything. A name cannot be unmade, she said, running her weathered fingers across prayer beads. Even if it is taken, even if it is sold, even if it is forgotten, it exists. Somewhere in the spiritual realm, your names are still calling out to you, like children lost in the market, crying for their mothers. She told us what we would have to do, and I'm not going to lie to you. It was terrifying. We would have to perform a ritual, not a simple one. A ritual that required us to go to the crossroads at midnight for 7 nights, to call out to our ancestors, to offer libations, to sit in complete darkness and silence until our names found their way back to us. But there was a catch. There's always a catch. Your mother must be present.
What do we do?
She made the bargain. She must be the one to call you back. If she refuses, or if she fails to complete the 7 nights, you will be lost forever. Not just your memories, your very selves. This is where the story could have ended, because my mother, proud Obiageli, businesswoman, pragmatist, had never believed in the old ways. Not really. She went to church on Sundays. She prayed to the Christian God. She had left the village and its superstitions behind.
But when she saw Chidi try to hold a piece of clay and drop it, his hands no longer remembering their purpose, when she heard Zainab struggle to say I love you in any language, when she watched me touch my own face and recoil like I was touching a corpse, she broke. Not with dramatic tears or loud confessions, but quietly, the way a dam breaks. First a crack, then a trickle, then everything pouring through all at once. On the first night at the crossroads, she was stiff, uncomfortable, going through the motions. She poured the libations, spoke the words Mama Nkira taught her, but her heart wasn't in it. I could feel it. We all could. By the 3rd night, something shifted. She began to cry as she called out to the ancestors. Real tears, the kind that come from a place so deep you didn't know it existed. She begged forgiveness, not from us, from them, from her own mother, from the grandmothers and great-grandmothers whose names she still carried. And on the 5th night, as she sat in the darkness, calling out to names she couldn't remember, I heard her say something that changed everything. I forgot that wealth without children is poverty. I forgot that success without failure is failure. I forgot who I was. The 7th night, the final night, we sat at the crossroads, my mother, my siblings, the elders and me. The air was thick with expectation, with hope, with fear. Midnight passed, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., nothing. And then, Chidi gasped.
I see it,
just a small sound, but he held up his hands and they were steady, completely steady. And he smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him in weeks.
Zainab began to weep, and when she spoke, it was in Igbo. Perfect, fluent, beautiful Igbo. Adana, she said, Adana Noanim, my sister. I can hear myself.
It's
I
activating.
looked at
The
my
magic is
reflection
awakening.
in
It's
Mama
so
Nkiru's
beautiful.
window.
We're ready for
And
this.
I saw myself. Not just my face, but myself, my essence, my identity flooding back like a river returning to its bed. We were whole again.
Our mother
My
knelt in
beloved
the
children, I
dust,
bless you with
surrounded
wisdom
by
and
her
strength.
children,
Grandma, we
and
feel
she
your love.
whispered our true names, the ones that had been lost, the ones that had found their way home. I won't speak them here. True names are secret, private things. But hearing mine, it was like hearing my own heartbeat for the first time. But restoration always comes with a price. My mother's shops began to fill.
Look at this new pattern.
Not
It's
collapse,
perfect.
not dramatically,
so pretty.
but the
Agree, it's
supernatural
beautiful.
It would
success
make great
dried up.
clothes.
The
Indeed.
doors that had opened so easily closed. The luck that had felt endless ended. She lost 2 of her 3 properties within a year. The main shop survived, but barely. She went from wealthy to comfortable, from comfortable to struggling. And you know what? She never complained. Not once. Because she understood now, in her bones, in her spirit, that no amount of success is worth losing your children's souls. That some bargains are too expensive, no matter how desperate you are. So what did we learn from this? What wisdom can be pulled from this horror? First, and hear this clearly,
Shaping the colors.
desperation makes us
The ancient
vulnerable
words
to
reveal new
bargains we
paths.
should never make.
I steady progress.
When you're drowning, you'll grab onto anything, even if it pulls you deeper. My mother's mistake wasn't loving us. It wasn't wanting to save us. It was believing that the ends justified the means, that survival at any cost was worth it.
But survival without identity isn't survival. It's existence, and there's a difference. Second, the old ways, the traditions our grandmothers and great-grandmothers kept, are not superstition. They are wisdom. They are protection. They are the accumulated knowledge of thousands of years of human experience with the seen and unseen worlds. When we dismiss them as backward, as primitive, as not modern, we cut ourselves off from the very roots that keep us grounded. We become easy targets for forces that should never have access to us. Third, and this is the one that haunts me most, we cannot shield our children from every hardship. My mother thought she was protecting us, saving us, but sometimes the struggles we face are the very things that forge us into who we are meant to be. Maybe I needed to wait for that surgery. Maybe Chidi needed to take a semester off. Maybe Zainab needed to miss that interview and find another path. We'll never know. Because the shortcut my mother took robbed us of the chance to become ourselves through our own trials. And finally, the most important lesson. Some things are not ours to trade. Your name, your identity, your essence. These are not commodities. They are not currency. They are the irreducible core of who you are. Once you trade them away, you can maybe get them back, but you'll never be quite the same. The scar remains. The memory of being unmade, of becoming nothing, of forgetting your own face in the mirror, that stays with you. It's been 5 years since that 7th night at the crossroads. Chidi's hands create beauty again, but he says every sculpture feels like a
Shaping
rediscovery.
the colors.
He has to learn his
The
gift
ancient
over
words
and
reveal
over,
new
like
paths.
someone recovering from a
Steady
stroke.
progress.
But there's a depth to his walk now, a knowledge of loss that makes everything he creates more precious. Zainab speaks 7 languages now. She added 2 more, as if to prove to herself that language couldn't be taken from her again. She walks with refugees, helping people whose names and identities have been stripped away by war and displacement. She understands them in a way few others can. And me? I left clinical medicine. I walk now with traditional healers, bridging the gap between Western science and ancestral wisdom, because I've seen what happens when we forget that some illnesses are not of the body, but of the spirit. My mother runs a small shop now, nothing like the empire she once had, but she employs 3 women from the village who needed work. She sponsors 2 children's education every year, and she teaches young mothers in the community about the old ways, about names and identity, and the cost of bargains made in desperation. She is making amends, every day, one small act at a time. And we have forgiven her. Not because what she did was okay, but because love is complicated, because parents are human, because holding on to anger is another kind of being lost.
If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own name, your own identity, your own family's bargains and secrets, I need you to do something for me, like this video. Share it, because there are people who need to hear this. People who are thinking about taking shortcuts that will cost them more than they can imagine. people who have forgotten the value of their own names. Subscribe to this channel because I have more stories, more folk tales from the deep places of African wisdom, stories about spirits and bargains and the price of forgetting who we are, stories that will make you think, make you feel, and maybe, just maybe, make you see the world differently. And most importantly, comment below. Tell me, what is your name? Not the one on your birth certificate necessarily, but the name that defines you, the name your grandmother called you, the name that holds your essence. Tell me your story. Share the wisdom of your ancestors. Because every time we speak a name, we call that person into being. Every time we tell these stories, we keep the old wisdom alive. Every time we remember, we resist the forgetting that the modern world wants to impose on us. There are some secrets that should die with our mothers. This is not one of them. This is a warning. This is a lesson. This is a love letter to every child who has ever felt lost and every parent who has ever made a desperate choice. Like, subscribe, comment for more African folk tales. And remember, your name is not just what people call you. It's who you are. Guard it, honor it, never ever trade it away. My name is Adana. I am my father's daughter, my mother's redemption, my ancestors' legacy. And now that I know this, truly know it, no one can ever take that from me again. Until next time, may you always know your name.